a rich man's world. I have turned the song of this
You're listening to the Breakdown Podcast, presented by Flea Flicker Highlights.
a rich man's world. I have turned the song of this beautiful land, but
Welcome to the Friday edition of the Breakdown Podcast, presented by Flea Flicker Highlights. I'm your host, Wade Rainey, joined as always by my co-hosts, Styler Bush and Pal Patel. Plenty on the plate today, both across the pond and here in the States. So let's hop right in. Let's start with the World Cup. The knockout stages starting to take shape. The U.S. is in. Huge victory over Iran. Talked about that a little bit in our last episode. Real quick, let's just go through the teams that have qualified already. The Netherlands are in. The Senegal is in. England, the U.S., Argentina, Poland, France, Australia, Japan, and Spain, Morocco, and Croatia all in.
Brazil is in as well. There.
Brazil and Portugal are also both in. 2 spots left up for grabs in the round of 16. But last couple days have been nuts. The biggest story, I would say, is Australia. Beats Denmark, gets out of that group. Excellent for the Socceroos. A team that I think most people were picking to finish last in that group. So they get rewarded with Argentina. So might be done for Australia, but still a cool story. And then the games today, especially the late games, absolute madness, insanity. Today was what the World Cup is all about. I was watching in class. Sorry, Dr. Savage, but there are some more important things going on. Japan beat Spain. They beat Spain and Germany in their group. Incredible. And then Costa Rica. There was about 3 minutes where if the results held, Japan and Costa Rica would have been going through. Germany had to spoil the party as per usual. But still an upset out of that group as Japan advances and actually tops the group. They will be moving on to the round of 16. But let's move on to American football. Big weekend this weekend. The playoff race has been heating up. It is fully heated, I would say. And we're ready. We're in the home stretch. Last 5 weeks, last month or so of the season. It's going to start to get really exciting. But let's just talk a couple headlines going into this week. Start with an off the field issue. Antonio Brown wanted by Tampa police on domestic violence charges. He continues his very sad spiral.
Yeah, no, it's not looking good for AB. It's been every week there's something going on about him doing some stupid stuff. Like past couple weeks it's been him and Tom Brady on this Twitter battle, and he released a couple private messages of Tom Brady. And
which completely backfired, by the way. They just made Tom Brady seem like a really nice guy.
Exactly, made AB look like an absolute clown, as he's always been since he got traded to Oakland. But no, this time he apparently threw a shoe and it hit someone's ponytail, and now the police won't let him go, and that's happening in Tampa. So
yeah, just
the whole situation's kind of a mess, but I think that with AB we're kind of getting used to it now. So.
Yeah.
Sadly, that is the new norm with AB.
Yeah, sucks to see another player lost to CTE.
Yeah, that's
allegedly.
We gotta blame that on the brain trauma.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you never saw that in Pittsburgh. I don't know. It was. I think it was that Burfict hit, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing is with CTE is that it literally could be. It could be an accumulation. You never know, but it's a tough.
It's definitely an accumulation, but.
It's a tough, playing football, it's a tough deal. And, I mean, you see that when some guys retire and aren't exactly all there. In other news, slightly happier, not much happier. Aaron Donald will miss this week's game against the Seahawks. This is the first time he's ever missed a game due to injury. Thank you, Tyler, for finding that cool little tidbit. And last headline before we get into picks, Justin Fields is a full go in practice. So this is the one game I would like the Bears to win for the rest of the entire year. They can lose every single one. I want to beat the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is playing. Justin Fields it's going to be his time to start his era of dominance in the NFC North this week.
What if he starts
yes.
his era of dominance and then they lose the rest of the games?
Ooh,
this
so
year?
no,
As long as Justin Fields shows improvement and the Bears lose, I'm completely fine with that. I want that second overall pick. Give me Will Anderson or whoever the best player is on the board after the Texans pick.
Yeah, fair enough. So is that all the headlines that we got to get through?
wait,
So-
hold on. I want to go with the Bears schedule. So after they play, so they play Philly and Buffalo
Yeah, they
coming
have a
up.
tough schedule.
So
They have a really tough schedule.
and
It's
then Detroit, Minnesota.
yeah. So
that'll be fun though. Playing our
This
team.
The
very well
Bears-
could
the-
be
the-
their last winnable game.
the Bears
Fields.
they could definitely beat Detroit, especially since it's indoors.
First
They
in rushing yards per game.
the Bears could they're last in passing.
Second in passing yards, or last in passing yards.
30 seconds.
The Bears could very feasibly lose out, which honestly, once again, not too terribly mad at it. For the first time in what seems like forever, the Bears have some hope. So I'm happy about that. Let's hop right into the Sunday games.
Yeah, let's
talk some picks.
Yeah, let's get the picks done. So the first game we have Cleveland, Houston, the Deshaun Watson reunion. Who do you guys have?
I like the Browns in this one to cover. The run game's been solid, and I mean, Deshaun Watson's definitely an upgrade from Brissett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree. I think Wade also. You agree?
I'll be really interested to see what Deshaun Watson will do in this game, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, sure. The next one, Denver, Baltimore.
I'm not going to overthink this. The Broncos are fucking terrible. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah, no, give me the Ravens in this one as well. I think they could cover this game. Just Russell Wilson's looked horrible.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement through the first two games. I think this is where we will have some differences. Green Bay, Chicago.
I like the Bears to cover, but I want the Packers. I like the Packers winning this game.
I will never, ever, 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 ever in my entire life pick the Packers to beat the Bears. Give me the Bears.
I got the Packers. They're hot.
That's fair.
But,
That's fair enough.
Next one, Jacksonville, Detroit.
Ooh, this is like sneaky gonna be a fun game to watch. I
Yeah.
think.
Over
I
the
agree.
over is set at 51 right now.
Damn,
By
yeah.
far the highest of the week.
Where's this Detroit?
In Detroit, yeah.
Is ETN? Ooh, all right.
I got the Lions coming out on top. I think that Jamal Williams has been on a tear. That rushing attack has been good. They've been doing it by committee, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a better wide receiver one than Christian Kirk is. So
Yeah, this is an interesting one. T-Bush just looked up the status of Travis Etienne. He could play.
Chance to play.
Give me the Jags regardless, even if he doesn't.
No, yeah, I like the Jags too. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's gonna have a breakout game. I think the Lions' defense is not good enough.
the next game, the Jets at Vikings.
I like the Vikings to cover -3 and win. Obviously, because the Jets' offense, although they got Mike White going, he's just not as efficient as the Vikings have been all season.
Yeah, that -3 is looking real tasty. Mike White, there's a reason he's been in the position he's been in. He had a great game last week. I like the Vikings to win.
All right, yeah. I think I'm gonna stick with you guys on that one. I think this will be a closer game than what people think, though. I think the +3 Jets is actually that might be a play. This game could go to. I could see this game being like the game that goes to overtime or something crazy like that. The Jets, they have the Vikings play down to their level, and then who knows? Next one, Pittsburgh at Atlanta.
I like the Steelers to cover -1.
Yeah, I think they keep that momentum from a gritty win against the Colts, and I think Kenny Pickett has a solid day in Atlanta. I like the
Agreed.
Steelers as well.
I'm gonna take the Falcons. I think that with Kenny Pickett, I haven't seen enough yet. That win against the Colts was good. I think the Falcons are a little bit more competent, and they'll put up more than 24 points, I think. The next one, Titans at Eagles.
I'm taking the Eagles. I think, especially on the road, the Titans just don't have enough offensive firepower to keep up with Jalen Hurts and company.
Yeah, no, although I do support the Titans on this podcast, I'm going with the Eagles. I just think they're too much for Titans.
Yeah, all of us are in agreement there. Next one, Washington at New York. the Giants.
This is another really, really good one, I think.
I have to go with the Commanders, to be honest. I like Heineke in this matchup. I just don't believe in Daniel Jones.
The Giants are home dogs, which is interesting. And I am going to take them.
Oh, same. I got the Giants as well. I think that Washington has definitely played great football the past few weeks, maybe even better than the Giants. I just think that they're playing in New York, and I think that the Giants they're in need of a win just a little bit more than the Commanders are, and sometimes that's what you need. Next up, Miami, San Francisco.
A lot of good games this week. Give me the Niners. Kyle Shanahan thwarts his former assistant in his return to San Francisco. I think their defense will just be a little bit too much, and they're at home.
Yeah, no, their home record is pretty good, so I'm going to agree with you there. I think the Niners covered the spread, beat Mike McDaniel.
They have a good record at home, but they're not undefeated at home. I'll take Miami. Next one, Seahawks, Rams.
The Seahawks, they did not impress me last week, but the Rams are bad, and they're missing their best player in Aaron Donald. So give me the Seahawks.
No, yeah, Seahawks have been low-key dominant all year in offense, so I expect them to run it up on the Rams, injured Rams, this team to say. Cooper Kupp's still gone, so I like the Seahawks still.
Another great matchup that we have is going to be Kansas City in Cincinnati.
What's Jamar Chase's status? Do we know that?
He's playing.
I like the Chiefs -2 in this matchup. Even if Jamar Chase is playing, I think the Chiefs, they've been playing just great football all year long.
Actually, let me check. Jamar Chase, he was questionable to play.
He was questionable last week.
He's been like the same status every week.
Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've updated since.
They
then.
probably wouldn't play him.
Give me
being at 7-4.
Give me
I don't know.
Who you got?
Give me the Bengals. I think this is going to be one of those classic lapse in focus games
And
for
you
the
got
Chiefs.
Kansas City, right, Tyler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Bengals at home. I think they should be able to get it done if Jamar Chase plays. If they don't, I think Kansas City wins, and I think that Jamar Chase will play, so I'll take Kansas City.
Wait.
Second to last one, we got.
Wait. You said you think Jamar Chase will play.
I think Jamar Chase will play. Yeah.
And then you took Kansas
I
City.
said, sorry, I'll take Cincinnati. I wrote Cincinnati.
Just wanted to make
Next
sure.
one
This
is
is
Chargers, Raiders.
I like Derek Carr at home. He's
There it
been
is.
playing very well, so I got the Raiders to cover this one.
the Chargers really, really, really need a win. They really, really need to win this game. And I just think they have more to play for than the Raiders. So give me the Chargers.
All right, I think this is going to be a good game. I think the AFC West, even though the record isn't as good, the teams are still as good as we know they are to be. The Raiders have been great the past month or so. I feel weird saying that the Raiders will win. So I'm going to change my pick. I'll take the Chargers. They win. They get it done. Last pick, Sunday Night Football, Colts, Cowboys.
Cowboys.
All right.
I don't need to overthink
Yeah,
this one.
no, Cowboys. Too much at home as well. Jerryland, big W.
All right. So those are our picks for the week. We'll revisit these next week and see how they fare. But let's talk about some of these matchups that we were really interested in. Like the first one that I feel like we have to talk about is the Miami San Francisco one. I know that you guys already set it up. Mike McDaniel is going to be playing his former head coach, and Kyle Shanahan visits his former team, his former home, and dare I say, do the Dolphins come into this game feeling like they're the favorites? Like I know what the point spread is, but I feel like the way that the Dolphins have played this year, I mean, they have to have the expectation that they're going to win. Like I feel like the Niners are the team that have to kind of prove more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, because no one's impressed with the defensive side of the ball anymore, you know? That's not like what makes you an impressive team if you're anemic on offense. And the Niners have seemed a little shaky on offense. I think the Dolphins absolutely should be going in expecting to win this game with how they've been playing. I mean, it's going to be a great matchup. You got a top two offense in the NFL, I would say.
The best passing offense. For sure.
No, yeah, I'd have
Against
to
the Niners?
disagree with you guys, to be honest. I like the Niners defense over the Dolphins defense just playing out, because Dolphins defense kind of sucks this year. I'm not gonna lie. We thought it was good, but if you look at the numbers, it's just not good. I don't like how last week when they went up 30-0 on the Texans, and then their defense
And they
kind
just
of
like
let
took,
up.
yeah, they took the foot off the
That
gas.
kind of stuff like leaks into the next game, and against this Niners team with so many weapons, matchups are going to be a huge problem. And when it comes to matchups, I think you're talking about the players on the field, but also the coaches. I think Kyle Shanahan just a little more experience. He's gonna outduel Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I think that the Niners, especially at home, we've got such good defense. That's like what's gonna propel them to win. But I am still surprised that the Dolphins were underdogs in this game. I'm gonna be honest, just because of, last week. I mean, the Niners played just not well at all on offense. Like that's like the only way
I
you can
feel
put
like
it.
Vegas is always favoring the Niners, like always.
They like the Niners.
I
They
don't
do
know
like the
why,
Niners.
They just are.
I feel like the public likes the Niners as well. I feel
I mean,
like
I do in this game.
even with the 4 point, I just think that's, I don't know, man. I don't see how you look at this Miami team and don't think that they can go up against anyone in the league and beat them the way that they score and the way that.
No, I mean they definitely can. I just don't think they will this week.
I think these teams like are very like even, and I think whether it comes to defense and offense, those are kind of mismatched, but it evens out somehow. And I just think the advantage just goes to San Francisco when you're at home, and just like Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan. That's just like what it comes down to me. Like
I think the most intriguing part. What? I think.
I know.
that last part.
I think the most intriguing part of this matchup is it's been a few weeks before we've had a matchup since we've had a matchup of two legitimate Super Bowl contenders. So that's something to watch.
Yeah, the last time we had one of those, it was Minnesota Dallas, and we know how that one turned out. So.
Yeah,
This will be a great game though. I think that one of the biggest storylines going into this game that's not on the offensive side of the ball is going to be Nick Bosa. I think if he can get into Tua's face early, we've seen that teams have been able to put pressure on Tua. We've seen him kind of get knocked down more than a few times this year, and I think that'll be the key for the Niners. Nick Bosa, I mean, he's third in the league in sacks. He has 11.5 on the year. And I genuinely do think that is probably the entire key to this game. If the Dolphins can make sure that they can keep Tua, safe and protected and give him time in the pocket, I think that they'll be able to slice up this defense and that the offense of the Niners will not be able to keep up.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Browns-Texans game, because on paper, not exciting, obviously. Mm-hmm. But you've got the return of a very, very polarizing figure, to put it mildly. Deshaun Watson back against his former team. The attorney who's representing the civil suit against him, he will be there with a few of the clients. That'll be something like keep an eye on, like for the broadcast and stuff if you're watching the game. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about like just kind of the cloud that's going to hang over this one?
Yeah, Deshaun Watson spoke with the media earlier today, and he just answered the football questions. Pretty smart guy. But I think we have to consider how good of a quarterback Deshaun Watson was, disregarding the outside stuff. Let's just talk about football.
We have to kind of make that decision as well. Like if we're gonna keep talking about Deshaun Watson because he is a starting quarterback, we kind of have to put the legal narrative beside the point. And I'm not saying that it doesn't matter or that we should just forget about it altogether. But I'm just saying that right now we are here to just talk about the Browns and the football game that they have on Sunday. And that means that we're just going to have to talk about Deshaun Watson like we would any other quarterback.
Yeah, so in agreement with Pal, In agreement with Pal.
You're about to say, so Deshaun Watson.
In 4 seasons, with the Texans, he has 270 passing yards. He's averaging 270 passing yards a game, completion percentage just over 68, and almost 2 touchdowns a game with a QBR of 104.5. Like, that's
he did
crazy.
That in Houston.
And he's like a scramble master. Like, he made me he made my heart break when he evaded that sack.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
then threw that check down to his running back, and then he gained like 30 yards on the run, kicked the field goal against the Bills,
and then won the game.
Yeah, first loss of Josh Allen's playoff career.
Not the last though.
And not the last heartbreaking last second loss either.
I know, seriously.
But yeah, that's certainly. I mean, I feel like there were so many Deshaun stories that we kind of forget now. It's been so long since we've seen him in action. I think he'll remind people. I think that the fact that they're taking Jacoby Brissett out when they know that he's a serviceable starting quarterback,
A really good one too.
shows that they have that kind of faith in Deshaun Watson, and that he's probably going to be able to make an instant impact on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, he's. I personally think that he's going to dice up the Texans. You obviously have to include for some rust and some, lack of chemistry with the receivers, but like from a purely football perspective, there's no better game to get him in against the worst team, literally the worst team in football. So
You just saw Miami kill the Texans. And don't forget, this is the same guy who brought his team to the playoffs twice. He has a playoff win, and he had that big lead over Pat Mahomes in that divisional game.
Yeah, I can't. What would happen if we
Exactly.
could go back and see that Texans, the Texans be able to keep that W? I mean, I feel like the NFL would be way crazier right now.
I know.
It's crazy already.
yeah, but I mean, on paper, once again, not a super interesting matchup, but obviously the storyline surrounding it, we have to address it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a game where it is very, very interesting on paper. Chiefs at Bengals.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, his status up in the air as we already discussed, and a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game as well.
Yeah.
So
I
what
want
do
to
you?
start. I want to start by talking about a guy that did not play in the matchup last year, and that's because he wasn't in the NFL last year. Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs now running back one, Clyde Edwards-Helaire out because of an injury for the foreseeable future. So he has stepped into that running back one role really, really well. I mean, it's been almost seamless. The way that he's just been able to step into the offense. Do you guys see anything special for his future, or where do you guys see his ceiling?
I mean, it's tough. It's so hard to evaluate running backs, especially in Kansas City's offense, just because they're such a juggernaut. I don't know, how good he can be. I don't think he'll ever be one of the best running backs in the NFL, but I do think that he's a really, really solid, dual threat, 3-down guy that you can trot out there and you can throw him the ball, which is very important nowadays in the NFL. And he can also pick you up some yards on the ground. So it's been a very nice story. But once again, with running backs, it's so tough. It's so tough. Do you guys remember Jonas Gray?
Yeah, I do.
See, it's like shit like that. He ran for 200 yards one week. He's literally cut 2 weeks later. You never know.
I'd love to piggytail off that because Andy Reid uses his run game differently, than most teams when it comes to having these multiple backs. Jerick McKinnon gets a lot of use, and I just think the ceiling for Pacheco, as good as he is, we're not the Jamal Williams era anymore. So I think the ceiling isn't as high as some other good rookie running backs in the league, say Brian Robinson. Because you see Pat Mahomes run the ball, you see Kelsey run the ball, you see Hardman run the ball, you see Tony run the ball, and Juju gets rushes too, and then you got all the running backs as well. So
I feel like people are counting the Bengals out though in this matchup. They're on a nice streak right now. Joe Burrow is second in yards and touchdowns, or not second, third in yards and third in touchdowns. And honestly, apart from the injuries, the Bengals haven't really ran into too many other problems. They're playing their style of football. They're able to turn around and get some wins. Do you guys think that they can make a legitimate push into the top two or the top three teams in the AFC to close out this year?
Yeah, I like the Bengals going down the stretch. Their record, I think they do have a tough record, but I like this offense if you're getting Jamar Chase back.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, you saw last year they seemed to get things rolling around this time, and that led to a Super Bowl game. So, what do you think?
Yeah, they started off shaky this year, and it was the question of whether or not that run was a fluke. And I think they've proven that it's not, especially with how they've performed with no Jamar Chase. Like they've picked up a couple of very nice wins. The Tennessee win stands out to me as like a particularly strong one. But yeah, absolutely. I think they can. You can. I don't think that they're better than the Bills.
I have a tough question.
I would slot them in. I would slot them in around 3 at their ceiling. What are you gonna say?
Yeah. So you look at their schedule. They play the Browns, then the Bucks, then the Patriots, then the Bills, then the Ravens, and they're 7-4. This is very interesting because if they lose more than half of those games, they could end up being around 500.
Yeah.
And those are good teams. I don't expect them to beat the Bills.
Yeah, we talked about this. There's a few teams like
Ravens,
that
I
just
don't
have absolutely ridiculously hard schedules coming down the stretch. But I think that, I mean, it's not a bad time to get Jamar Chase back. Coming off a 3-game win streak into the hardest part of your schedule. They're currently tied with the Ravens. They both are sitting there at 7-4. But yeah, the Ravens have a much easier schedule in comparison.
Steelers twice, Atlanta, Cleveland, and then the Bengals.
Yeah. So that division could come down to the last game though, because I mean, although we say that the Steelers are 2 easy wins right now and the Browns are, you never know how those divisional games end up, you know, and they just dropped a game against the Jaguars. The Ravens did. So you truly do never know. I wouldn't count out the Bengals in this divisional.
Don't count out the Browns either because you look at their schedule, Bengals, Ravens, kind of tough. But then they got the Saints, Commanders, and then the Steelers. Yeah. So this is going to get very interesting. This is going to be another good end of season situation.
Who do you guys think wins the AFC North?
I think the Ravens do. Their schedule, the Bengals schedule is just too tough to overcome. I think I like them finishing around 10-7.
You guys are looking at the Bengals schedule like it's that, but I feel like the Bucks win is something that they should be able to handle. The Bucks can't score on anyone, and the Bengals don't.
Well, yeah, that's one of the 3 games that they'll win for the rest of the year.
They'll win the Browns game as well.
I'm gonna make a very hot take pick right now.
You don't think that they can steal one against the Bills, Chiefs, or Ravens? Just one, and then that's only 2 losses.
They're at New England. Like I don't even know if they'll beat the Patriots. Like that's the thing. Like I think out of these next
this Sunday
7 games
will go a long part in kind of determining where the Bengals wind up though.
I think the Browns are going to win the division.
Okay.
That's
going to be my bold take. I think the Browns are going to win the division.
When the Browns get eliminated,
I'm just looking at everything now. They're home against the Ravens.
Whenever the Browns get eliminated,
Steelers,
can you please just clip this? And post it.
It's gonna be one of
the thing is like this is so outlandish.
Eagles.
I feel like this pick is outlandish enough that we don't even need to post if he gets it wrong. You know, it's like one of those. I do not see that happening. I do not see that happening.
I just hate the Ravens.
That's fair enough.
For the Bengals.
I know you love Joe Burrow in LSU. You got that. I know you love Joe Burrow, bro.
I do love Joe Burrow. It's hard not to love a guy that's so damn good.
Just have to
I want to go into the game that I personally am calling the fraud watch matchup of the week, and that's Jets at Vikings. Both these teams.
Trap game.
For who?
No, they're both good teams. They're both good teams.
Yeah, but I mean the Vikings, dude. The Vikings are only +8. They only have a +8 point differential, and they're 9-2.
Yeah.
No, the Vikings have not impressed me really that much at all.
Yeah,
the win over the Bills was a very good one.
You can't lose by 37
I don't know.
or 40 and then have people still, credit you.
Even if they're beating teams by a couple points, they're still beating good teams like the Patriots. I think the Patriots are a good team. They had a good game against them.
All right, I'll make a bet with you right here, Tyler. $15, just straight up. I don't even care what the odds are. Vikings are not making the conference championship game.
I'm not gonna take that bet with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because they suck, dog. Vikings suck.
But I'd like them to beat the Jets.
This could be
Okay, well, the Jets also might be bad too, though.
Yeah, but the Jets have a proven defense
And a proven quarterback.
Oh my God, no! you get Mike White and you give him Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. You're actually throwing the ball to those guys in the air, which Zach Wilson wasn't doing.
Yeah,
he wasn't even reaching like 20 attempts a game. Mike White threw 28 times first game of the season. So.
I saw a pretty crazy stat where it was out of players that have had like the 300-yard game or whatever that Mike White had, to have 2 of those in their last 5 starts or something like that. It was just him and Patrick Mahomes. Like, and the fact.
So you know what that means.
The difference in his 2 starts is like a year because he has
zero experience though, so we have to like give him some like credit. Like he has like no experience.
You know what that means. Mike White is just as good as Patrick Mahomes. Also, real quick, I was wrong. The Vikings have a lower point differential than 8. They are 9-2 with a point differential of +5. So you tell me about that.
They suck. That's what that means.
I don't think that they suck. I just think that they're worse than their record is.
Hey man, they can win football games that are close. I get that. That's a great thing to have in the regular season. That does not get you very far in the postseason. And I think that even if they beat the Jets today, I'm still thinking that they're not gonna do jack shit in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
I think looking at the Vikings, they'll always play close games, and 50% of the time they're gonna win. 50% of the time they're gonna lose.
Well, they're a hell of a lot better than 50% of the time right now, bro. They're at 9-2. So
when it comes down to close games against good teams, though,
this year they're like
no, down the stretch in the playoffs. So like they could get a playoff win, definitely. Like I think the stakes are high for that, but like I don't think they're getting into the conference championship like you said.
Fair enough. I feel like the Vikings are a very hard team to judge right now.
They can beat anybody on any given Sunday, but like they could also lose like
by 37
on any given Sunday.
We have to remember that
to the Cowboys.
To beat the Bills, they required more than just one lucky play. Like they had 2 to 3 things happen to them down the stretch that like typically don't happen in a football game. And if one of those things happens, then it's like a blessing, and that you kind of take that. And the
Vikings should have won that game. They had 4 chances to get the ball in the end zone, and they didn't. And then they fumbled, and they gave the ball over to Josh Allen on the 1-yard line. And then Josh Allen choked, and then the Vikings choked again. So the Vikings choked twice, and then Josh Allen made that crazy throw to go to overtime. So there was more blame on the Vikings in that game, and they still ended up winning. Like
that's what I'm saying. They got lucky.
Exactly.
So, like, I think that you can't really look at that and then look at the Cowboys game and say that like, oh, it bounces out, because it doesn't. They needed to get lucky to beat the Bills, and they flat out got outplayed by the Cowboys. Like they absolutely just got punched in their jaw at home. And I feel like stuff like that shows that kind of stuff shows that you're not ready as a team. Like there has to be a certain level at which you perform. And even if that goes beyond just the wins and losses, it goes into the way you play the games and how you play these games. And the fact that they weren't able to like respond well after that Bills victory.
Yeah, they only beat the Cardinals by 8.
That's what I'm saying. They're not that good a team. That's what I'm saying. Just that
Bears by 7.
Those should not be 1-possession games. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Just because they win close games does not make them good.
Yeah, the other 9-2 team in the NFL, the Chiefs.
By 3.
I think they would beat the Bears by maybe 100. So there's that. Also, you mentioned the Patriots game as a time the Vikings beat a good team. They needed a suspect call to even do that too. The Hunter Henry catch.
Yeah, that
all
suspect. That one was.
I feel like we've established that we don't think the Vikings are that good.
The NFL wants more Justin Jefferson.
I want more Justin Jefferson.
He's so likable,
awesome.
But like, I think they want
I
Justin Jefferson in the playoffs. They want
be careful. This is gonna get copyrighted.
They want a gritty versus gritty Super Bowl. Bengals, Vikings.
We can celebrate
Jamar Chase versus Justin Jefferson.
We'll finally know.
That's literally the NFL's dream right now.
I don't think.
The NFL's wet
They
dream.
want Chiefs-Bucks again. Is what the NFL wants. I bet you.
I feel like the NFL. Yeah.
The NFL's scripted when Tom Brady wins the rest of these games. And goes to the conference champion.
We've been saying that since October now, and they still manage to lose more than they win.
Well, they're still going to win the NFC South, so.
Yeah, every reason is a joke.
All right, well, let's get off this game. I think that'll be an entertaining one at the very least. Jets at Vikings, no matter what these teams do later. Let's talk about a game that I don't think will be that entertaining. Titans at Eagles. I'm not one to give the Eagles a ton of credit. I think the one thing to watch in this game will be the fact that the Titans are excellent against the run, so Jalen Hurts will have to put the ball in the air. But I still think that I think the Eagles win this one by double digits, personally.
Yeah, the Titans are about to get absolutely smoked by AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
Some fire behind those words.
Yeah, like I fucking hate the Titans. You guys made me hate the Tennessee Titans. You both did. And the crazy thing is I low-key like them because they handed Tom Brady a fat L.
Dude, that was so
his
awesome.
last game
I
of
remember
contract.
watching that.
I'm a huge Titans guy because that, but you two managed
I don't know.
to...
They weren't able to completely close off that game against an
How many
injured
wins-
Aaron Rodgers.
how many
and a
wins do
shit? Literally,
the
the
Brown-
Packers defense looked horrible.
How many wins do the Bills have? How many? Do you know?
It doesn't matter until
Do you
you
know
win a
that?
game in the
Do you know
playoffs. Has Jalen Hurts done that?
He hasn't gotten a chance. This is his literal second year. Literally his second year. And
That
he's
is
playing
that is
at
also
MVP
that is
level.
also that is also.
He has his.
He didn't go to the
his
playoffs
first
last year.
No, his first
He
year
didn't
was
start,
with the
though.
first year head coach.
That's right.
His first year was with the first year. His first year starting was with the first year head coach. They're in his second year.
At zero.
He has legitimate wide receivers to throw to. A running back that's playing the best football of his career, the best offensive line anyone has seen in the NFL in the past 10 fucking years, and a defense.
Cowboys.
I think this line right now is better, and I think that a lot of people would agree with that. They just put up
Tyron
350
Smith, Zach
yards.
Martin.
They just put up 350 yards with Miles Sanders as their premier running back, bro. If they had Zeke in his prime with that offensive line, Zeke would have had 400 yards.
I mean,
last time.
the Bears are first in rushing yards a game, and their offensive line is terrible.
I'm talking
so.
about the fact that they had 350 just this past game, and it's all offensive line. If you watch the Eagles play, you know what that offensive line does. They make Jalen Hurts look so much better. They make the running backs look so much better, and that defense is filled with studs. I mean, they have guys that could start anywhere, and they have them backing up guys on the Eagles right now. Like, there have been so many injuries. We haven't been able to talk about them because the Eagles have guys that step up and, make stuff happen.
I'm not saying the Eagles aren't Super Bowl contenders
They're
because
the best
they
team
are.
in the NFL right now.
And you name the Titans, they're playing them. The Titans last year were first in the AFC. If the Eagles end up being first in the NFC, which they probably will be, it doesn't mean the regular season doesn't mean anything anymore.
Cardinals went 9-0 the beginning of last year too,
And I just want to leave it at that.
That you guys, as the moderator here, I'll say between this discussion, I'll say you guys are both correct about these
I know.
things.
I don't. He's bringing up the fact that Jalen Hurts hasn't won a playoff game. Yeah, because he hasn't been in the league for 5 fucking years. He didn't have to take 2 years to learn how to throw a goddamn
I think
football.
experience in the
Like,
playoff matters. That's what I'm saying. That's my
experience
subjective
of
opinion.
losing, bro. Experience of losing.
Experience going through it, yes.
Hey, I agree.
Losing,
I'm just
Josh
fucking-
Allen has lost until he got to the championship. That's
I got
literally
it wrong,
a
no.
great example
Go
right
over
there.
this.
Same thing with Pat Mahomes against Tom Brady. Like, come on, bro.
For first time ever, Timo's finally gets wound up
Yeah, dude,
on the
seriously.
podcast.
Hey man, you tell me how awesome it is to lose in the playoffs again and again, and then tell me how it helps the Bills not make the fucking Super Bowl this year either. They're about to get trounced by the Chiefs before the conference championship again.
Another thing to watch will be Derrick Henry against the Eagles' run defense that has looked a little bit suspect at times.
That is
is
true.
what I will say.
They have looked suspect. Derrick Henry is going to get fed. I think that this will be a low scoring game, but I think the Eagles will be able to easily put up 27 points.
That's not low scoring at all.
Well, I think, look at the total right now.
It's 44.
So you think, okay, that's half. Yeah, exactly. And
They're
then the
favored
Titans,
by only 4.5. So
That
the
I
Titans
would
aren't going to score
hammer
more
the
than
Eagles, to be honest.
yeah. The Titans aren't scoring more than 17, 20 points.
22.
Like just the way that they play, they just can't put up points.
Yeah,
Like,
so their over is 24.5.
What I will say is we might see one of these Rabel games where the Titans just hold the ball for 45 minutes out of the 60 as well. Though.
they're going to do that for the first half for sure. I will guarantee you that. I guarantee that the Titans-Eagles game, the first half, the under hits. It's going to be one of those games where Vrabel does that because he knows that if they have any shot, they're going to have to excel with that kind of stuff. Like they're going to have to revert back to that kind of style to win. And I feel like it will give the Eagles some problems, but we've seen it in the past few weeks. Jalen Hurts and company somehow figure it out and get it done.
The Eagles are favored in this game, but if you're looking for a value play, Titans might not be a bad one. um, I'm just saying the Titans are a very similar team to the Commanders and Colts team. Played them very well these last weeks, and I'll leave it at that again.
Oh God! All right. Last game before we move on to the much less controversial NBA. Commanders at Giants. A game that is huge for the
People like you are why Philly sports fans suck, bro.
victim blame. We got some victim blaming right here. Us being the victims of Philly sports fans is what I'll say to that.
I haven't done shit on this podcast, bro. I don't even talk about the Eagles like that. I could have shoved the Eagles down your throat. They have 10 wins.
All right.
By the way.
Let's stay in the NFC East. Two teams trending in opposite directions. Commanders at Giants. They will play each other again in 2 weeks.
Daniel Jones is ass. I mean, we've talked about it. We can
agree on.
We've talked plenty about this, but at the end of the day, he's better than Tyler Heineke.
Okay.
And I think that will be a difference maker this game. I think that the Commanders' defense, it's great, but the Giants are creative, and I feel like they get the yards. The Giants are able to move the ball. They have trouble, putting it in the end zone. They have trouble in the red zone. But I feel like this Commanders team, they've been riding this wave of using their offense to win these last few football games. Their defense has kept them in it, but their offense has been the X factor, and I feel like the Giants' defense is good enough to kind of negate the tool running back thing that the Commanders have used to kind of win the past 3 football games.
Yeah, no. The Giants, I do want to point out Saquon Barkley, only 8 yards away from the 1,000-yard season, and
wow,
that's pretty impressive considering
he's
the
missed
past
a couple
very rough past couple years for sure. But when you're talking about this Giants team, they look horrendous when it comes to the numbers. They don't lead in any really category. They're 6th in rushing yards per game and 7th in time of possession. They're not top 15 in anything else. Damn. And there's 20 of these stats right here: total yards per game, passing yards against per game.
We definitely know that the Giants have struggled offensively this year, but even at their best, they look kind of lackluster, which is the most concerning thing about them. And I want to say it's the same thing for Washington. Do they rely on that defense too much to win them football games, considering that they have some really talented wide receivers and running backs?
I'm going to give you a lock right here. Look at the time of possession. We bet the under. 1st and 7th in time of possession.
Wow, yeah.
Bet the under. Giants, Commanders.
There's only X amount of time.
No, not the under of how much time in the game, the under of the total.
Oh, fair enough. Okay,
You bet the under for who? I was mad confused over here.
All right, so okay, I get it. Well, it's set at 40-something. I mean, this game isn't going to be. I'll be surprised if this game has more than 3 touchdowns. I'll be surprised if this game has more than 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that makes me nervous about my Giants pick with this game is just the pure, unadulterated grit that Taylor Heineke brings to the table. I still like him in this game, though. I think that at home, the run game will be too much. There's going to be a lot of energy in the Meadowlands for this game today. This is a huge one.
This is the biggest game of their season by far. I mean, the Giants look like they're about to start slipping. I don't want to say we called it, but we talked about that. We talked about the Giants, when they were 7-2, that hey, the way that this team has been winning, it's not sustainable.
Started with a loss to
I'll
the
say
Lions.
it. We fucking called that. I don't know. That's exactly what we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple as that. But this is a very good opportunity for them to right the ship, get a huge divisional win. I mean, the NFC East, for how good that division is, they haven't played each other very much yet. The Giants, Redskins still have both of their games still to play. The Giants still have to play the Eagles, and the Eagles still have a matchup with the Cowboys left. So there is a lot of ball to be played in this division and sorting it out. And we know that even if you're 4th, like Washington is right now, you can still get into the playoffs. So everything to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move into the NBA. Some big headlines from the last few days. The 2 biggest ones, I think, you get Booker dropping 51 in 3 quarters. Could have had more. The Suns sat him because they were winning by so much. MVP talks. MVP talks. we said we were going to talk about the Lakers. This is instigation.
Portland's a good team.
Portland is a good team. We'll talk about. We're not talking about
That's
the Lakers. No, but the Suns. Do Booker MVP shouts start to come up a little bit? No.
I hate Devin Booker, so no.
I love Devin Booker, man.
But he's too streaky of a player. We all know that.
He's too streaky to win MVP, and his averages aren't the best. I mean, we've been talking about
He's just a
10
scorer.
different guys. We've been talking about 10 different guys averaging 30, and this is a guy that's known to be a scorer, and he still averages 28, 29, 30, and so I think that although he is the most efficient or one of the most efficient scorers, I think that his just lack of volume takes him away from a lot of these MVP type talks. Okay. Plus, it doesn't help the fact that the Celtics are on quite literally the best offensive stretch in NBA history, and then you have Giannis doing incredible things offensively and defensively. I feel like with him, it's like the whole caveat where someone is so great for so long that you kind of forget to give them recognition. We've seen people say that about Kobe in the latter years, LeBron recently, and I think we're kind of getting there with Giannis already. Like, people talk about him in the MVP conversation as they should, but I feel like he still kind of gets disrespected because if this was the first time he was doing this, or if Lauri Markkanen was putting up these numbers, he'd be, it feels like a first-time guy, first year. Mm-hmm. He's really stepping it up, then he would be undisputed MVP. And I feel like with Giannis, we're just kind of taking it for granted.
I don't know if you could quite compare him to Kobe and LeBron. Definitely, maybe Shaq.
In a few years, I think you can.
I'm talking about the narrative. The narrative of the fact that he's able to drop 30 and 12, average that, and he's a defensive anchor on a team that's top, 2 in defense.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he is so effective on both sides of the ball, it's remarkable.
Let's. You mentioned the Celtics, and you can look up the stats. Essentially, I'll give you the too long didn't read version. They're on pace to have the greatest NBA season of all time. Offensively. Yeah. And so Tatum had 49 last night. He's been looking electric. He's still only 19. That's not true. That's a running joke.
No,
but
I get that.
No one laughs. No one laughs.
Sorry, I'll laugh right now. That was a great one.
Okay, I'll cut. I'll chop it up to make it look like you guys got you guys. But he had 49, so I'll pose the same question for Jason Tatum. If the Celtics, keep up this ridiculous offensive production, and he's their best offensive player, do you think that makes him the favorite for the award, or do you still want to go for one of those more do-it-all guys? And that's not to say, Tatum very good defensively as well. Should say that.
I think that with the fact of the matter being, the way that I look at Giannis, it is very hard, if the season ended today, for anyone to take that MVP award from him, just because of how much he does of everything. And I think that that's something that Tatum kind of lacks at. But I will give full props to Tatum. He is without a doubt, top 3 MVP candidate. He is second in my book right now. What he has done to get to where he is offensively, his shooting splits are ridiculous. They're the best of his career.
Second in free throws, 36% 3-point percentage.
On 9 attempts per game. That's great.
This is a guy that he's come a long way since he was actually 19.
He's making 10 buckets a game every game.
Yeah, and so Boston without a doubt is the best team in the NBA right now. The way they play is beautiful. I don't know if you guys have watched very much Celtics basketball.
I get a lot of Boston Celtics basketball.
Oh yeah,
Ben.
That's so annoying. By the way,
especially since they're good again.
I would hate living with shout out Griffin. He's a huge Celtics guy. I talk Celtics basketball with him all the time. He doesn't know it, but I hate it. Every second of it, I hate it. I hate it because every time I talk about the Celtics, I feel like I'm always praising them, and I hate them. So it's tough to see again that they literally just reload and get better. But they are actually number 1 in percentage to win the NBA championship right now. A lot of places have them at first, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I don't even think I have a single point to disagree with you there. We saw last year how dominant their defense was, and now they're just crazy on offense as well. First in field goal percentage, first in 3-pointers made, second in 3-pointers against, first in 3-point percentage, first in free throw percentage, first in points.
First in offensive efficiency.
And it's not, I think, Powell, what you were going to say.
Their defense against the opponents are all top 10, too.
I was
And
going
then
to say.
as soon as Rob Williams comes back,
Those numbers will go even
yeah,
higher.
as soon as Rob Williams comes back, that's a top 5 defensive unit again. They switch off the ball so easy. I was gonna say, if you guys watch the Celtics this year, I mean, they literally play like the purest form of basketball I've seen since like the first championship, like the 2015 Warriors. They're so, but they do it a different way. They don't do the extra pass type thing. They actually are going to use so many pick and rolls. They want you to switch because they know that they match up with anyone. They take their guys. Like in any situation, in any context, if they come off a pick, they like the ball in Jason Tatum's hands. They like the ball in Jaylen Brown's hands. Like they know that those guys are going to be able to make the right reads. They have the right guys placed around them. Al Horford, absolutely resurgent. I don't know what he was doing in Philly. We paid him all that money for him to be absolute dog shit. He goes back to Boston, and now he's amazing again. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. They're insane. He actually signed an extension with Boston today as well, so he's going to stay there even longer.
Coming down the stretch for this Boston team, you have so many experienced players on their bench. You got Grant Williams, Derek White, Brogdon, Hauser, Cornette, Blake Griffin, Peyton Pritchard. Like, all these guys are so good, like when it comes to having playoff experience and being those good role players. So, like, with a great starting lineup that they have right now, their bench is just as good.
Yeah, let's talk about one of the Celtics' potential challengers in the East. A team that whose status was up in the air coming into this year. I think people still thought they were going to be contenders. They struggled, but they're back above 500. The Brooklyn Nets.
They're above 500 for the first time.
Yep.
For the first time this year.
Kevin Durant, ridiculous game. 39, 5 and 5, 13 for 20 from the field. Just like a pure Kevin Durant, super efficient scoring performance. Kyrie had 27. The Nets, they're starting to hit their stride a little bit. So what do you guys think their ceiling is in the East now that we've seen them start to come together as a team a little more?
Hey man, I feel like I've talked about this before. Seth Curry coming back is huge. He is going to be their primary point guard, their primary ball handler in the half court when KD doesn't have the ball in his hands. It's going to be in his most likely. And I think that this Nets team is really finding its own groove because they have guys that are assuming new roles. Royce O'Neal is going to be KD's like right-hand man for the rest of the year. I don't know if very many people expected that. That's like the way it is right now, and that's the way it's going to stay because he has played phenomenally. He has played phenomenally well for them to start the year.
KD's been KD this entire year. He's averaging 30 a game. We know what he brings to the table. I just think this Nets team is finally coming together. I believe since they already have 3 wins in their past 3 games, they're on a little streak. They're going to continue the streak. They have so many good players. They're just not playing to their full potential, and we knew that. So I think this team can make some noise in the playoffs.
Number 1 in 3-point field goal percentage. Yuta Watanabe.
Mm-hmm.
That boy nice. I remember I was watching the Nets game with Wade like 2 weeks ago, and he just randomly like hit a 3, and I was like, oh, like I've never seen that guy before. He is a baller. He is shooting 57.
The Nets are so big too.
He is shooting 57%. Oh yeah, wait. Let me talk about Yuta just a little bit more. He's shooting 57% from 3. And he's their shooting guard, and he's 6'8", 250.
Yeah.
215.
They have tall-ass dudes on their team. Durant, Claxton, Simmons, Watanabe.
Royce O'Neal is huge as well. I mean, that's the way they play. They have a lot of length, and then they've been relying on KD to distribute and be the playmaker, and he is absolutely stepped up in their game. In their game last night, did you say it? He had 39.
Yep.
He had 30. He had 39, and then 5 and 5, and was really able to just will them to a victory. Like I feel like that's the case with a lot of these Brooklyn games.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep tabs on the Nets, especially over these next couple of weeks, see if they can keep this momentum going. In other news, Karl Anthony Towns is out 4 to 6 weeks with an injury. The Timberwolves have been struggling. They've looked disjointed. They've looked confused. The Gobert trade has not been working out. But maybe, taking some of the size out of the lineup will help them with spacing, things like that a little bit, maybe a little bit defensively. But so far, that experiment has not gone well in Minnesota, unfortunately.
Minnesota has struggled. I think the last time we talked about them, I mentioned how they have two really decent lineups, and then they have one really, really historically bad lineup. The two that are good, one of them features the same four with Rudy Gobert, and the other pretty decent lineup is the same four with Karl Anthony Towns. And then the really, really bad lineup is the one with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So the Timberwolves have struggled trying to get their two bigs to kind of link up. I didn't expect that.
I think the problem is Cat. I think the problem is Cat with this Minnesota team. They've literally tried everything. They've gotten so many players: D'Angelo Russell, Rudy Gobert, and Cat. I mean, although he puts up great numbers, he's like a guaranteed 28-5. Like, he can be a 20-10-7 player at max, probably, which is great when it comes to you're looking at statistics. But like, when it comes to winning, it doesn't work, and you need to let these other stars grow. In my opinion, I think they need to move on from Cat.
I think the Timberwolves.
They just paid him so
I know,
much.
but you have to blow it up. Someone has to go from Karl Anthony Towns to Rudy Gobert. And I'm not a big Rudy Gobert guy, but I think you move on from Towns. I think he's overstayed his welcome a little bit.
I remember when people mentioned him with Jokic and Embiid.
Yeah, seriously.
Those two are. I mean, they've shown it, but I think that the problem. I mean, I know you guys are. Cat is still he's the best shooting big in the league. And we talk about how much this league has changed into prioritizing the ability to shoot and create space, and I think that Cat does that more than anyone else on this team. If there's a guy that I personally kind of look to kind of put it on, it's Anthony Edwards, man. I love him. I love his style of play. He's been great. He averages 22 a game, almost 23, but he takes 12 shots a game. And I think that the problem is that last year he took around 12 shots a game. This year he's averaging, 17, 18 shots a game, and I think that
I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Edwards, you give him some more looks after Cat going down. This Timberwolves team could turn around, in my opinion.
I think that the problem is with efficiency. This is a team that has shooters, but none of them are known to be efficient, and then they kind of struggle with getting some production off the bench. I think that without Cat, though, like you were saying earlier, they have a unique chance to kind of figure out what works whenever he is gone, and he's been a crutch. I think that putting the blame on Cat is the absolute wrong thing in this situation, because it's not like getting rid of him is going to make this team, able to perform. I mean, unless they, don't lose a game for the 4 weeks he's out or something, I'll eat my words. But I still think that it's an overall just lack of efficiency. They can't spread the ball very much, and the way that Anthony Edwards plays, he just takes up too much. He takes up too much space from Cat and Rudy, and then also he takes up a lot of the ball. He's taking a lot of shots as well. But he's a phenomenal player. I'm not just trying to shit on Anthony Edwards. He's not doing anything wrong. I think it's more of a management point, and they just don't know how to use their guys yet.
Yeah, definitely something to keep our eye on, how these Timberwolves do in the next few weeks with no Cat. But let's hop into Salting Up Locks of the Week. It's been a week-long hiatus.
Hopefully now we can actually come up with good stuff. And
I'll tell you what.
Some locks.
My pick is a good one. but let's start with Pal. Who you got? Salty Nut Lock of the Week.
Oh man. I wanted to take the Ravens. That was my original. I'm gonna take the Ravens. They play a Broncos team where they have defensive linemen yelling at their quarterback's face on the sideline. That team is dysfunctional. But my Salty Nut Lock of the Week will be the Dolphins to cover. They're actually 4-point underdogs against the Niners. I think they'll get it done.
That's your lock. Damn, that's bold, but I'll take Kelsey anytime touchdown. think he's got 12 touchdowns in almost 12 weeks now. So he's averaging a touchdown a game, and the odds are pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's a great one.
Odds are
I
pretty
love
good.
that one.
Mine is a little bit more out there. I'll do a World Cup pick, and I know Pal knows, but in 2010, Uruguay knocked Ghana out of the World Cup. They would have been the first African nation to ever make the semifinals. They knocked them out of the World Cup under dubious circumstances. A Luis Suarez handball on the goal line. Ghana missed the penalty and then lost in penalties. Heartbreaking. They play Uruguay with a spot in the round of 16 on the line.
Yeah, up for grabs.
I like Ghana to avenge the 2010 injustice, and I have them beating Uruguay and moving on in the World Cup.
Ghana can do one thing that Uruguay cannot, and that's score goals. So I wouldn't be too surprised. But I mean, Uruguay does have the world class players. So we'll see who wins. It's been a crazy few days in Qatar.
Is that a teaser?
No.
All right. Well, that will do it for us today.
Bengals minus 2.5.
Money.
Are you buying points?
I always buy points. That's
I was
how you
gonna
make the
say- I was
parlay
gonna
today.
say-
Hey guys, buy the points. I always set my lines to minus 2.5 or minus 6.5. I always buy points. 4.5 if I can't get to
What's
6 or
the
7.
odds on the parlay right there?
Which one?
What is it looking like?
All right, wait. Tell us the parlay because this
There's
is
a lot.
this is terrible
What's
radio.
the NFL one? Just the NFL one.
So I have one.
All right, hey, this is Pal's lock of the week. This parlay.
The Ravens minus 2.5, the Bengals minus 2.5, Dolphins to win, and then Chiefs minus 5. That's the parlay. It was a free play.
What the hell?
Pretty sure.
So I don't even know.
It says $0 for 94. I don't. That's hilarious. I'm not sure what I put.
Maybe
on.
I-
maybe
lo-
it was
lo-
like,
I
maybe it was
low-key-
like 60 cents or something. You know.
I didn't though.
I low key don't hate that as a parlay. Just listen to it, but
Hey man, they all always sound good when they're on
when they're on paper, yeah.
dude.
They
And
never-
then
they never
Sunday
do
at 3
that.
p.m. you'll find me here on the couch telling you what I need.
Someone
yeah,
gets hurt, bro. It's just like so many things can happen.
Weather is bad.
Yeah.
that'll do it for us.
DK Metcalf has to go to the bathroom.
You saw my bad beat live last week, though. I had the Seahawks on that one.
On this episode of the Breakdown, we end with some betting talk. But if you made it this far, thank you for listening. We will see you all on Monday.
I would have won $180 last week if Josh Jacobs hadn't scored a touchdown when he did last week. Damn it.